On today's show, we celebrate the epic growth of longtime client Tim Redmond. And Devin, you have in your hand right there the actual growth numbers that Tim Redmond has experienced in the past years. Can you read us the numbers, please?
Oh, you got it. 16%, 97%, 25%,
Yes.
74%,
Yes.
and 85% in the last 5 years.
Now, we have Paul Hood on the show here. Paul Hood is a CPA. And, Paul, you do a lot of things other than just basic math. But if a company has grown by, what was the last number there, Devin?
85%.
So let's just say for good, even numbers here. Let's just say the company did $100,000 of revenue last year.
Sure.
And they're up by 87% this year. How much larger are they? What would be the gross sales for the listeners out there who are not math people?
Well, that would be what, $187,000 in sales. If they did $100,000 up 87%, that's $187,000, right?
Okay, so almost double
Almost
the size.
double.
Almost.
Yes.
Okay, and then what were the other numbers there, Devin?
We had 16%.
So again, if the company did $100,000, Paul, and we said it's 16% larger. So if the company did $100,000 of sales last year, how much would it be this year?
$116,000.
Okay, let's play the game again there, Devin. Give us another year.
The next number here was 97%.
97%. So if a company did $100,000 last year, Paul, you're saying it'd be $197,000 this
I
year?
would say that, yes.
Do you do this? If people go to hoodcpas.com, do you do basic math in addition to the epic accounting and bookkeeping services?
Sometimes we do algebra. Actually, we do it all. So
Whoa.
maybe a little
Really?
geometry.
Wow.
Yeah. But don't tell anybody because that's a long time ago. But no, Clay, that's the exciting thing about that is so if somebody goes from does $100,000 up 16%, that's $116,000. But then if they're at $116,000 and they're up 97%, then you're at, let me see, 1.9. Got the calculator.
Come on
it's heating
now.
up.
It's the math
Oh,
podcast.
man.
Here we go.
So yeah, times 1.97.
Yep.
They're up another $104,000. So instead of $116,000, they're at $220,000 the third year. So compound, when you do growth like that, it's compound. It's kind of like compound interest or dollar cost averaging. It's compounding on top of itself.
And so what's really, really fun about Tim Redmond is when we first started working with him, he would have about 20 clients or so, 20 clients on average at any given time. And now he's got 100 clients.
Boom.
And Paul, you're a math guy. If you
I
go
am.
from 20 clients to 100 clients, how much bigger are you?
That's a 500% growth.
Sick.
Yeah, that's a bunch. That is staying busy. And you know what's crazy is I bet he was working hard at just when he had 20 clients. And so, Clay, a lot of things you teach is not only how to get business, but how to be productive in having that business and having the time to be able to have a 500% growth. That, I think, is one of the biggest things people overlook.
You know, Paul, the numbers are so good at Redmond Growth. They're so sick.
Yeah.
I'm getting nauseous.
Well, there's Get that man a pail.
I'm gonna have to move my microphone to the bathroom. I can't, otherwise, I won't be able to finish. I'm just feeling kind of sick.
I have grown. I have doubled every year
Mic check.
since
Mic
working
check.
with you.
Can you guys hear me?
I've doubled
Okay.
in clients. I've
All right, here we go.
doubled in revenue every year.
Devin, we have to stop the track. Paul, we have to stop the track.
Oh.
I'm getting nauseous.
Uh-oh.
It's just so sick. It's so good. It's just like the vomit's like right there in my mouth. I'm just holding it back, I'm holding it back.
Fight it.
Here we go.
Which is just incredible. I mean, the first time you do it, that's one thing. But when you do it repeatedly,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
We're
unbelievable.
We're working our Blessed Assurance off this year to double. We're planning on doubling again. We're incorporating some new things in there to really help us do it. But we are going to double again this year.
I mean, I just want to say I appreciate both of you guys. I really look at the coaching that you provide to me. I'm so indebted to you, and I kind of liken Tim to my navigator, and the Thrive team as the engine in the car. But you put me in the driver's seat, and I used to not be.
I have grown. I have doubled every year since working with you. I've doubled in clients. I've doubled in revenue every year.
Devin, look, there's some corn.
Oh, thanks.
It's coming up again.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Thrive Nation, you are in for a laser show today because on today's show, we're inviting Mr. Tim Redmond onto the show. Tim Redmond, how are you, sir?
Doing really well, Clay. It's so good to be back on the show here. It's been a while.
You've not been in the man cave since the flood.
Since the flood, Noah, Ham.
Whoa,
Shem,
I was
Japheth.
like, I didn't know he was that old.
Well, I mean, you've been in the
Tim, you look young.
Thank you.
You've been in the man cave before, but before the flood, I believe, right?
I've been in before the flood.
Now, for the listeners out there that don't know, when I was 19 years old, I got hired to work for a company called Tax and Accounting Software Corporation. This was a company that you grew. You and another guy, you guys grew it from 2 people to 350 employees. So from you two, can you share where was the company started? Was it like in a garage? Was it in an apartment? Was it in an office space? Where were you where were you physically located when you started the company?
We were in an apartment complex. The international headquarters were in a 3-bedroom condo at 31st and Mingo, which is a bustling part of Tulsa.
Oh, it's a really nice area.
Yeah.
For people who are out there who don't understand, that's not a nice part of Tulsa.
Well, you might have to speak multiple languages down there.
Yeah.
You have access to a liquor store and bail bonds and pawn shops and all the essentials there, but it's not a super
an
nice
area
area.
with bars on the windows kind of place.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs there.
Street side.
Okay, so how did you go about getting your first 10 customers while growing Tax and Accounting Software Corporation? How did you get those first? I think the first 10 clients are the hardest to get for a lot of people listening out there.
Yeah. So we actually contacted a number of CPAs in the Tulsa area and got them to try the software out. It was initially a write-up, a bookkeeping system.
Yep.
And so we got them going with that. Then we got right into sending out mailers. And we would send out a few thousand mailers at a time, 5,000, grew up to 10,000 and 20,000. We eventually grew up to 400,000 mailers 3 times a year.
Now, you at Tax and Accounting Software, what kind of software did you provide for accountants, just so the listeners have some sort of context?
Yeah. It was is a bookkeeping or write-up. They call it write-up software. It's like a bookkeeping service.
Yeah.
Also, we did taxes for all types of tax forms for various states, and we ended up having about 200 programs we maintained. We eventually grew up to.
Did you write the software, or did the other guy write the software? Who wrote the software?
The founder of this, Tim Clare.
'Kay.
I couldn't program myself out of a wet paper sack, and but I knew how to grow systems. I knew how to grow where we could get the right people in the right places and doing the right things, and so that's what I was good at.
How old were you at the time when you started working with
I was
Tax and Accounting?
25.
25.
25
And
years of age.
when the company was sold, how old were you?
I was 40 years old.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
2000. Actually, it's 2001. It was April 2001. So I was, I think I just turned 41.
And at that point, when you guys sold the business, I was interning there, and that's how I first heard of you. I was interning under Todd Starkey and Steve Heck were the guys who brought me on there. When did you feel like you were really gaining traction? When did you look up and say, you know what, we should move out of this apartment? When did that happen?
Well, we hired a programmer to help the founder, Tim Clare, and he was at the time, a rather large person, and it just made our little place very crowded. So we decided that after we hired the first programmer, we had a whole system. What's key to get a business going is having a sales system that really works. It's repeatable, and you can scale it, you can turn it up. So we started doing that, and we can predictably get X number of demos or X number of leads coming in. And at that point, we invested the money to get some other office place.
How is a system different than networking? Because I see a lot of small business owners that are stuck in the world where they don't have a system. They think they have a system, but their system consists of their personal effort, exchanging their personal time. So it would be like a guy like Dr. Breck. I'm sure you've seen a lot of chiropractors in your industry who go to networking events, and that's their sales system. It's passing out their card, networking. Breck, have you met chiropractors like this?
This has been my system up until working with you guys for coaching. So Tim Redmond is my coach.
Yep.
And 2 years ago, we got together, and that's where my system started to come.
Dr. Breck is my chiropractor.
Okay.
I let him touch.
What?
Whoa.
That is
Family show.
Family. That's but seriously, so you now have a sales system at drbreck.com. You do.
Right, for the first time.
For the first time. Back to you, Tim. The system.
Yeah.
People think they have a system, but they don't.
No, I had the same thing. I started coaching, and I had a whole bunch of people come to me, and I was generating between $25,000 and $40,000 a month in coaching just because of my charm and because I knew a few people. But it would go up and down, Clay. That's when I came to you, as I was going up and down, and I wanted to go up and up instead of up and down. And so that's when it needed a system. So creating a system is you have nailed down specific steps that you're going to take no matter how you feel, no matter the results. You lean into them, and you do them regardless of what's happening. You lean into them, and it will give you X number of leads. You follow up with those leads, turns into sales. That's the system.
I want somebody out there to get this idea. It is only scalable. It is only scalable if it's repeatable by somebody who is not that smart. Not that smart. So I want to make sure we're getting this idea. Not that smart. So somebody out there needs to write that down and think about this, because when I worked at tax and accounting software, I would have been 19 or 20 at that time. And my job was to answer the phone when accountants, CPAs, would call us for customer support. And they would ask questions about their, I want to say like their 1040 EZ form or some 1099 or W-2 or some protocol. And with no knowledge of accounting at all, I was trained within about 2 days how to do it, how to answer the phone, how to answer their questions. And somebody out there, for whatever reason, I don't understand it, and I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to empathize. It's so hard for me. I don't get it. But, like, I don't understand why somebody out there is not making a system that's scalable. I don't understand why you're not using a script. I don't understand why you personally insist on answering the phone. I don't get it. I've never had that thought. I don't get it. And Tim, what makes you an effective coach is you do empathize. What makes me an effective coach is that I don't empathize, but I have enough results that people. No, seriously, I have enough results that people are like, I hate you, but I'm going to do it. You are a little more kind, but helps the listener out there. Somebody out there who is just, they don't have a script. Let's start with a script. They don't have a script that a 19-year-old intern can use, and they insist on doing it themselves. Help somebody out there.
Well, I tell you, it's if you don't have a script and you don't have a system, then every day is a whole new creation. You're creating a lot of energy just to figure out what are you going to do.
Right.
And the best executives, Peter Drucker is a father of modern management. He said the most effective executives make one decision a year. What you do is you make a decision, what is your system, and then you work like the Dickens to make sure you follow that system. And so that's really what it's all about. So with a script here, we have a brand new gal that just came in working for us. She nailed down the script, and she's been nailing down appointments. Usually we try to get one appointment for every 100 calls. We make 200 to 300 calls a day per rep.
Right.
And she's been nailing down 5 and 8 appointments a day.
Somebody out there is having a hard time.
That script.
So she's making how many calls a day?
She's making between 200 and 300 calls a day.
How long did it take you to train this person?
We had a half a day.
I just want somebody out there to write this down. This is some profound crap, and I don't get it. I want to help you, but somebody out there needs to be slapped around a little bit. Listen. It's not that freaking hard to write a script for a dentist. It is not hard to write a script for a cosmetic surgeon. It is not hard to write a script for your church. It's not hard. What the hard part is you and your freaking stinking thinking. You're addicted to stuff that doesn't work. It's like you're in this habitual loop of jackassery, and you've been in the outhouse and the porta potty of life so long that you smell bad and you can't figure it out. Dr. Breck, Tim's been able to help you.
Absolutely.
I think at one point you might have been in the outhouse of life where you were stuck out there
It
working
stunk.
hard in the doom loop.
Yes.
You'd been a chiropractor for a dozen years. You
A
had been,
little more.
A little more than that.
Yeah.
You were stuck.
Mhm.
How much have you grown since having one-on-one coaching?
We've more than doubled.
More than doubled.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for the listeners out there who are struggling with the concept? They're pushing back. They're going, I want to implement the script, but it's just,
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, one, I would say if you think that you can do everything yourself,
Yep.
then your vision's just not big enough because, you've got to elicit the help of others. You've got to build a team around you, and you can't really properly do that without the systems. So you need the systems to do more than what you can do as an individual, one person, doing this, running the whole show. As I've said it before, I was kind of one-man band, and it sounded terrible. And so if you want to be an orchestra, you've got to bring on the other instruments. You've got to have the whole team working together. And then the scripts is one part of it. It's like the sheet music for that orchestra. You've got to have something that you're following that everybody's playing together. Everybody knows where to start, where to stop, how loud, how soft, what beat we're on, and then it works. I mean, it's just there's a proven path. You get on it, you follow it. I've heard you come up with stuff just off the cuff here recording that I was blown away by. Just how it could be implemented and how it could be done. And those were just simple, easy things that you've done it so many times. This is what needs to be said. This is how that needs to happen. And then you just do it.
Let me give you an example out there. And Steve, I want to get your take on this. But like writing a book, I've had so many people tell me, Clay, I want to write a book. And I said, I'm going to help you write a book. And they say, how do you write a book? And I tell them the proven system. I've done shows about the system.
Yeah.
And then, this weekend, my wife's at a cheerleading event. She's gone at the cheer thing. And so my kids are being watched by grandma. And then I took care of them last night. I picked up my kids at noon, hung out with them for about 2 hours. And then grandma was hanging out with them, and I hung out with the kids from 6 o'clock until 10. But the rest of the day, I had my own day. So what I did on Friday is I got home from work at 4:30 p.m., and I went to sleep because the kids were at grandma's house. Set the alarm, went to sleep. Then I woke up at like 11:45, and I got up, and I wrote a book. And then I did it again yesterday. So I have written 2 books that I've wanted to write in the last 2 days, and it only requires about 24 hours of work. And somebody out there says, well, I want to write a book. You have to know the system, but then you got to do it. And I'm not like a absent father. I got to find the weekend where they're at a cheer event or something, and I do it. And I don't understand why somebody would want to learn the system and then not implement it. And that's why I want to get Steve's take on this, because Steve has been a joy to coach because we've never had to have a talk about motivation. Steve, we've never had that talk.
Yeah.
Can you please explain to the listeners out there what kind of person would not be a good fit for coaching with me? And then I want to tap into Tim's take on this, because Tim is kind of a business evangelist, and I don't get it. But Tim will actually call people. We've had this discussion a lot, and I don't get it. But Tim will actually call people who don't call him because he cares about their business enough to call them. These are people who don't even know they need coaching. He'll call them and ask them, where they're stuck. And he has the empathy needed to coach the uncoachable. And he'll do this for years and help somebody grow a business. Where me, I only coach people that reach out to me. And even then, out of every 100 people that reach out, we only take on like 1 usually. Yeah. Steve, talk about, what is that thing with you? What's that inner drive? Why do you just implement all the stuff we teach you?
Well, I think, I don't know if I heard it from you or where it was from, but I think it comes down to discipline versus motivation. I think a lot of people are looking for motivation, or to get motivated to write that book, or to get motivated to call their leads, or to get motivated or get in the right mood, or to get where they feel right. And it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with being disciplined to be able to do it. And
the inspiration is the reward.
Yeah.
You get it after you do the thing.
Yeah, and people are just weak asses. That's what it comes down to. It's like you want the book. One of the first books that I read that was in sales was Ultimate Sales Machine. But there's another
by Chet
one
Holmes,
called High Trust Selling, and it talks about what you'd call like the law of the iceberg. And you can Google this, and it'll show you. But everyone wants what's above the surface. Everyone wants the success and all the accolades, and they want to look cool and drive the Lamborghini and do all that, but they don't want to talk about what happens below the surface when people aren't watching. They don't want to talk about the 5 o'clock in the morning radio show podcast that you're doing. They want to talk about the fact that you have a lot of people listening to your show, but they don't know all the stuff that goes on in the background. And I think that's where people trick themselves into thinking that, oh, you can just have all the success without having the discipline to do the crap no one wants to do. So,
Tim, you are a benevolent guy, and I don't understand it. I don't. We've talked about this a lot. I don't understand what makes you want to call people and then coach them into becoming disciplined. But I've seen you do it. And so, what is it that drives you to want to reach out to people who are not reaching out to you and to actually help them? I've met these people at conferences, and their lives have been changed. What is going on inside the Tim Redmond cranium there?
Well, I see where people have come from or where they're at because I've been there.
Got it.
And it doesn't take that much to go from a flat or a downward spiral and to going up. It really requires that person to own their life, to own their business. If they're a business owner, if they can own it, and we just remind them of the specific steps it takes to own what you're supposed to own. When they start to own it, good stuff starts happening. So I'm convinced that now you have more of a limit, Clay, of how many people you want to coach, and so I'm ramping up.
Yep.
You know, even beyond you.
And our relationship is weird in that we do. If someone were to buy an Apple computer today, and or let's say you bought a personal computer, a PC, the computer is made by, let's say, Dell, but then the software in the computer would be Microsoft, let's say, or Adobe or whatever that is. So I basically make the systems, and you're like the computer and I'm like the software. It's kind of how I would describe our relationship. Yeah. Tim, I want to ask you this. You and I reconnected. I think it was in the year 2000 and what was it? Maybe 2010. Is that right? 2011, maybe, or no, maybe further down the road. Maybe 2013.
2012.
2012.
You were just starting to put together your whole Thrive campaign.
Okay, so 2012, and at that time I was 5 years removed from the DJ business, and you were how many years removed from tax and accounting software?
It was about 10, 11 years.
Okay, and I started coaching clients. My wife was telling me the story the other day, and I totally forgot about this. But it was 2002 or 3. I wanted the Renaissance Hotel to refer me. I had America's largest wedding DJ company at the time called DJConnection.com. And I wanted the Renaissance Hotel to refer me, and I wanted Tarp Chapel to refer me, and I wanted Fasciano's, the bridal store, to refer me. And they wouldn't refer me. And so I said, what do I need to do to get you to refer me your weddings? And they said, well, we're not going to, or something like that. And I said, well, if I can help you double your sales, would you refer me? And in all cases, they said yes. So my first coaching clients were these venues where I would go in and double the sales of a wedding venue, and then they would refer me. And it's easy for me to double a company. It's very easy. It's very linear. It's step by step. We just do it. And we have enough guests on the show who can share their stories. So hopefully at some point you'll understand as a listener that this is true. So coaching clients. In 2007, I think it was, or 8, Vanessa said, why don't we file an LLC? So we filed makeyourlifeepic.com. It was called Make Your Life Epic because an epic movie involves a hero who starts off with a goal and has to go through some adversity en route to their ultimate success. And that's what growing a business is like. And so we met. How did we re-meet? What was the first interaction? There was some interaction where you and I first connected. I just remember that somehow you and I went to Hideaway Pizza. But do you remember when we first reconnected?
Yeah. Well, we had that speaking thing that.
There it was. So it was Victory Christian Center. I was speaking there, and through a series of events, the event started late, and I did not know that you were speaking after me.
Yeah.
And so I spoke for the allocated amount of time I was given, and that was eating into your time as the keynote speaker.
Right.
And I did not know I was eating your time, and you did not know that I was asked to start late. And so it was that initial.
And during that time, Clay, that was my profession. I was really for about 10, 11 years.
You were speaking.
I was traveling around the world, really doing ministry, and I would do coaching as a way to make up for. Instead of getting love offerings, I got a lot of hate offerings from churches.
Nice.
And so that's how we did. So, you didn't realize that I was the keynote, and I thought you were just another one of these people
who's eating into your time
and eating into my time. And I was the main guy, and I was pretty full of myself at
and
that
you had
point.
And you had a table out with your book, The Power to Create.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking, and I was probably about, at this point, 5 minutes over into your time, but I didn't know. And I'm getting this evil eye from the guy.
What?
By the way, if you're out there listening, the worst thing you can ever do is go overtime. I'm just telling you, if you're a speaker out there, the most discourteous thing you can ever do, the worst thing you can do is to ever go overtime. So I'm starting to pick up on this. I got some pretty decent emotional intelligence.
Tim's got a pretty mean stink eye.
But I also am I'm also on like slide 4 of like 10.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to hustle through it. Afterwards, we shook hands. I realized there was something weird. We exchanged numbers. The next time we met was
now understand, Clay.
Yeah.
That based on what happened on that table,
what had happened
was the means for me to feed my family for that week.
No, I get it. And so Terry Fisher and his wife Julie, nice people. They're in their 50s, I believe, maybe 60s now, 60s.
Yeah, he's about 65.
And they invited me over for a Christmas holiday event at their house.
Yeah.
And I was the only guy there who wasn't 45, I think.
Yeah.
And I was there, and Julie offered me wassail. Now, wassail, Steve, have you ever had wassail before?
No.
It's a hot cider.
It's yummy.
So I didn't know how hot it was.
Yeah.
Nor did I know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So Julie says, "Would you like a wassail?" And I said, "Sure, I'd like some wassail." And I'm asking my wife, "What's wassail?" She says, "Well, it's apple juice, basically." I'm like, "Okay." So because I have I always operate 95 miles an hour in the 60-mile-an-hour world. I chug things. So if you give me a bottle of water, I'll usually finish the thing at one just gulp. That's what I do. I eat. If we go out to eat, Vanessa always says this is not a race, so I have to slow down. But I chug the wassail, and it is so hot that I drop this really expensive, I think, Kinzig china. I mean, it's probably $100.
Everything that Julie has is first class.
Oh, no.
But she is just a wonderful person that just wants everything to be perfect.
So interaction number 1, I speak over into Tim's time. Interaction number 2, I spill wassail at an event where I'm clearly the young buck who shouldn't be there.
And you burn your throat.
Right. Things were not off to a good start.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
So you said, "Hey, what's your story? I want to meet at some. Let's go out for lunch." So we met at Hideaway Pizza, and that's where I'm more in my element, where I'm one-on-one and I can talk about facts. I don't do well with social circles.
You were actually telling me, Clay, about your vision with this Thrive 15, and hey, I was thinking about having you be on board as a part of my board of advisors and meet and launch this thing out. So that's really what connected us here, was you telling us about your vision.
So we met for pizza, and at some point you were like, what's going on with your coaching? How do you coach? And I said, well, I've got clients. Most of them stick around for years. I meet them. I find out their goals. I don't really try to tell them their goals. I find out their goals, and then I build a business vehicle that helps them get there. And you were telling me about your consulting. And I said, well, what I do is consulting with the back end. So where you were doing speaking and coaching with executives that already had a big team, you were coaching huge companies that already had a big team. I'm coaching people that don't have a team. I coach people that they don't have a graphic designer, a photographer, a web developer, all that stuff. So I'm doing consulting with the back end. You're doing speaking with the leadership coaching. And I said, maybe you and I could team up. And so that was, I think you have been a client of mine for, is this 8 years now or 9?
Yeah, we had an exchange, because I believe in the law of exchange rather than the law of freedom.
And can you explain to listeners out there what our relationship has been through those last 8 years, the good, the bad, the up, the down, just so they kind of know?
Yeah.
Because I like coaching guys like you or guys like Dr. Breck, as previously stated. I like coaching, diligent people that have it figured out. What role did we play in helping you, or how did that work?
So you helped me go from this networking and people that knew me to help me create a sales process that would queue up clients much more frequently than I was queuing up through my networking and speaking, that type of thing.
And we office in the same building. And what's really been fun is that you came to me and you said, I need a right-hand guy to help me grow Redmond Growth. Could you teach my son the force? Essentially, was the deal. Could you teach him the moves, the systems? And you gave me free reins for, I think, about 6 months to mentor your son from zero to hero. I think it was about 6 months.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I had come to you initially, Clay, and I said, hey, listen, I want. he said, what's your goal? That's your first, just
Yeah.
what you say. What's your goal? I said, I want to be a centurion. I want to coach 100 businesses. So you stayed with me, and in our joint quest to
Yeah.
want to create a scalable coaching program, you were doing it. I wanted to do it. And so I said, hey, Robert came to me, and I said, which, by the way, family, I said, Robert, you'll always be my son. I'll always love you. But in the first paragraph, I said, but you are fireable if it doesn't
And
work
I want to
out.
make sure you get this about family. I don't mind hiring family. I just want to make sure we're clear. I don't mind hiring family. I just want to hire diligent people. I don't care if you're family or not. This is why the vast majority of my family hasn't spoken to me in years. And I'm totally cool with that. I just cannot be around negligent people. So I wouldn't hire you if you're negligent, whether you're family or not. And Robert's a diligent guy. So we worked with Robert
He
on.
really did well.
He had already done very well in the world of recruitment. He was already doing very well as an HR recruiter, hiring guy, kind of a headhunter kind of guy. But we worked with Robert on teaching him search engine optimization, sales. He actually worked on the search engine team for a while.
It was a rough environment, hugely demanding.
Yes.
So he was like, Dad, I don't know if I could do all that you're wanting to do. He's making $100,000 a year as a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, Robert, I promise you that I'll pay you less than half initially. That's my promise to you.
So Robert had to master, though. He had to master search engine optimization. He went from a six-figure job to starting at the bottom, learning that
Having
search.
to learn all new skills that you were teaching them, and it was a tough environment.
Yeah.
You know, up early, 5 o'clock, work until 5 or 6
Every day.
getting stuff done on the weekends, and I mean, it was transformative for Robert, for you to create a new reality of saying, if you're going to own a business, this is what it takes to own a business.
Robert, Jonathan Kelly, and Julia Marriott are the only people I've ever met who've been able to learn the systems that fast. So the search engine system, the sales, the branding, the marketing, the accounting, the legal, the workflow, the emotional connection, all of these, how to manage people, the checklists, all the things we had to teach them. It's like getting your MBA in 6 months is what Robert did.
Oh yeah, it was awesome, and I'm the visionary, and then Robert has very deservedly moved into an integrator. He makes sure things get done and implemented, and he's phenomenal at that. And I will say, Clay, I'm very grateful to you leaning into him, and I mean you leaned into him without mercy. It was awesome.
He's been great, and I will tell you, Jason, you've seen this with clients, but when we first start out writing a script, the script is never right.
Nope.
But you have to use it, right?
Yeah.
And
Gotta
so,
start somewhere.
so when we started making a script for Redmond Growth, and again, this is where the interesting thing is here.
Oh, I wanted to complicate it so much, Clay, and
Yes.
you kept it simple.
We had to keep simplifying, and I think we were on about version maybe 25 or 23, somewhere around there. Not version 30 yet. We were on version 20 or something, and we're recording the calls, and every meeting is the same meeting. Every week, we play the recorded calls because it's a 3-part system. Step 1, call 300 people every day, by the way. 300 calls per person per day.
Right.
Step 2, you book about 5 appointments. Step 3, of those 5 appointments, there's about 1 or 2 that are a good fit. And the next step is actually onboarding them. It's a process. But we would listen to the calls and tweak the script. And this went on, I think it took us about, when we really focused on just the script, maybe 5 months, 4 months of just that iteration.
Pretty intense things. My brain will tend to complicate things. You slowed us down and says if there's no mastery in this little step, there's no growth in your business. Stop complicating. Stop moving ahead. Stop getting shiny object all over. We're going to nail down this script, and we're going to get it trained.
Calls. What advice would you have for Tim, for somebody out there who's not listening to their calls? They're just, the time is passing, but they're not listening to their calls every week.
I have a question. Why are you hating yourself and the growth of your business so much? Why do you not want to grow? That's what I would ask them. Just very simple. Just do it. Don't complicate it. Don't say, here's why we can't do it. Just do it and watch your bank account become extremely obese.
We go back 8 years ago. Think about the number of clients you had back then versus the number of clients you have now. As a percentage, what has been the growth over the past 8 years, do you think? We got to
Well-
inspire somebody out there who just doesn't have the time to listen to their
Okay,
calls.
so Clay, it's like I would go up and down from about $10,000 a month up to about $40,000, but it's up and down roller coaster, and so now we've got it to where we're in excess of 100 clients.
That's awesome.
And so I would have anywhere from 5 clients to 20 clients on my own with networking, but I had no control over it. I didn't, without the systems, you're going to be victimized by your own business.
For somebody out there who struggles with math, if you, let's say that your average number of clients was 30 and you go to 100, as a percentage, what is that?
I have doubled every year since working with you. So I've doubled in clients, I've doubled in revenue every year. It's 100% growth every year I've worked with. Now, so I'm looking, we've been good friends 7-8 years, and I've got doubled 5 times.
Which is just incredible. I mean, the first time you do it, that's one thing, but when you do it repeatedly,
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
We're working our Blessed Assurance off this year to double. We're planning on doubling again. We're incorporating some new things in there to really help us do it, but we are going to double again this year.
Again, double every year. Jason, there's somebody out there who's not wanting to record their calls.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a client that didn't want to record their calls?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you want to ask Tim a question? Maybe he could inspire somebody out there who's,
Yeah.
for some reason, they just don't have the time. They can't get the calls recorded. They can't put the software on. They can't download the call. There's just, because again, really what this is, if you talk about what this story is about a diligent man by the name of Tim Redmond who had a big goal to help people. And the marketing avenue that works for your business is cold calling. I mean, without the cold calling, it's not going to work. Now you're getting word of mouth and people are telling each other, but is there somebody out there who they just don't want to pick up the phone? What questions would you have for Tim about that? Because he's mastered the art of the cold call.
So being a business owner who has gone through the gauntlet of writing the script, actually making the calls, the one thing, like the main objection I always get is, well, shouldn't I just hire somebody to do that for me? I don't have time for that. That's not my highest and best use. So you say, okay, well, let's get these tools in place. They're good with the call scripting, but when it comes to the recording, they don't see the value in listening to the calls, trying to basically watch the game footage to fix it. So what's something that you have done or something you would say in order to help motivate that person? Because I always operate like teaching them the pain, because I've been through the ringer before. I used to work in one of Clay's call centers, and so we've had times where my calls were really good, and then 80% of the time he says, hey, slow the hell down. You talk too fast, or follow the freaking script so you can have the same conversion every time. But so trying to teach them through the pain sometimes doesn't work. So what's another alternative that you would just say, hey, in a polite way, dummy, this is why you have to record your calls and follow up on the training when it comes to that?
Yeah, owners own stuff. So I did not want to own all the calling. I would make calls here and there, and I wasn't diligent. Clay has been very kind to me, but I wasn't. I was depending on how well known I was around town or around the country, but I really wasn't that diligent with it.
But once you started to make those outbound cold calls and get your team to make those outbound sales calls, talk to the listeners out there about the importance of recording those calls and actually listening to them.
So you've got to accelerate your learning. You've got to own it. You've got to get around it. You got to do it yourself until you can get it mastered.
I have pastors I've worked with in the past, and I can say this: if you're a pastor out there and you're not diligent, please don't reach out to me. Please don't do it. 'Cause it's a form of cognitive dissonance I cannot handle. I cannot handle you making an income and working less than everybody I've ever met. I cannot handle. It's just a form of cognitive dissonance. Now, I work with great pastors now, but I can tell you, if you are a pastor out there and you want to reach out to me and you are if you're living the easy life on somebody else's dime, do not call me, because I will go off at you. But a pastor, to be good, has to be good as a speaker, as a teacher, as a trainer, as a leader. And a guy back in the day, who's no longer a Christian, by the way, but he once was, Carlton Pearson. Carlton Pearson, who was my speech coach, and he was the top televangelist of his time at that time in America. He was the number one mega church pastor in Tulsa at that time, and he was on the Christian Broadcasting Network. He told me something that changed my life. Awesome. As I hired him to teach me speaking, he said, Clay, after every sermon, I would watch it. I said, "What, you watch the whole thing?" Yeah, I'd watch it, the whole thing, and take notes about what I did well and what I could do better. And it had to do with every aspect of it. And he said, "I did it every single time. And you must do it as well if you want to become a truly great speaker as he once was." And he looked at me and he said that. You must listen to every single speech you've ever done. I mean, listen to it. So we recorded the conference audio, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But one, I listened to the entire 15 hours every time.
Wow.
Come down here and I hit play. I'm working on stuff, and I listen to it because I find the moments where it went. That's why we're the highest-rated business workshop in the world right now. It's not because I'm great. It's because I'm very self-aware. Now, at the time, it's when you're in it, Tim. It's hard to be self-aware. When you're speaking, it's hard to be self-aware. But when you hear yourself 7 days after, in your man cave, and your wife and kids are at cheerleading, and you're down there, and you go, "Uh-oh, that part wasn't good." When you can fix it.
When that energy dropped. And
yes. But again, pastors who will watch their own sermons get better quicker. What would you say to somebody out there that's just struggling to be self-aware? You know, maybe it's not cold calling, Tim. Maybe it's that their advertisements don't work, but they're loyal to it. Their checklists or lack thereof don't work, but they're loyal to it. What would you say to a business owner that's been stuck in a doom loop where they're growing by like 10% a year? 1% a year.
I would have an honest conversation with myself. Now, Clay, being a speaker and listening to your own messages, that was very hard for me because I had to own what I would consider would be failures in different parts of the speech. So a lot of people don't want to lean into what you leaned into to make yourself a phenomenal communicator, which you are. Because of the fear of pain. And I would say to anybody, look at what is going on in your business. Is your business serving you?
Yep.
Or are you serving it?
Yep.
And then what is working and what is not working, and just have an honest conversation with yourself on the results you like, the results you don't like.
And I used to stutter a lot. I mean, I couldn't talk very well at all until about the age of 13.
That's
and if you've ever stuttered, it comes back at a time that you don't choose. So for me, it usually comes back in the very early morning and at the end of the day. When my brain gets kind of lazy, it'll come back. And so starting our workshops at 7, I've got to get up usually like at 2 or 3 to work through the mental cobwebs on the day of a conference, because you don't want to be the stuttering speaker guy. And the weird thing is when you stutter, people kind of look at you weird, but not maybe as weird as you think they look at you at first. And then you get weird, and it gets weirder, and it's this doom loop of failing. Breck, as a chiropractor, Tim's had to help you become self-aware of the things you do well. And maybe I'm incorrect about this, and maybe I am correct. You tell me. I don't think Tim's had to help you gain a care for your clients or your patients.
No.
And I don't think he's had to teach you anything about chiropractic care.
No.
But what kind of things has he had to teach you?
Oh, man. There's been so many different things. One of the first things we did was about like profitability and where our price structure was. So that was one of the first tasks we took on. The website. I had done a buyout with a partner, and so I had been kind of an indentured servant in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of just bad systems, bad habits that were in play that we kind of had to just work through. We created one sheets. We've, he's done a ton of things as far as content for the website, asking for those Google reviews. Like I said, we were getting some Google reviews organically, and it was about 15 over the course of about 15 years. Wow. So that doesn't really work out so well. So now we have like 327, where we just, we haven't even been as diligent as we need to be on that. But yeah, I mean, the difference is enormous, even in what little bit we've actually been able to implement. I feel like I've got Tim on he's a bulldog ready to go, and I've got him on a leash because of all these different things that we have yet to really put into play.
It's exciting.
So yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it like the foundational work that goes into a skyscraper. We've been doing a lot of dirt work. We've been doing a lot of foundation stuff, getting the systems in place, getting things set and ready to go. And now we're seeing the fruit in that with the new location, with the building, with the team. And so, we're about to ramp up into like exponential growth.
And just for everybody out there who missed it or maybe misheard it or maybe I didn't do a good job underscoring it, how much have you grown since working with Tim Redmond and the team?
Well, in different ways, different amounts.
As a percentage of profit, maybe.
Well, I mean, at a point, I literally was making $1,200 a month.
That's a hot deal.
Yeah,
That's a hot
I
deal.
mean, that was my take-home income.
Do you want to be a chiropractor or
Anything.
lemonade stand manager?
Right.
You make the same amount. I mean, so you were
Right.
making $1,200 a month.
$1,200 a month.
And so have you grown the profit since working with Tim?
Well, I mean, we've had months where we were able to bring in over $100,000, and so yeah, I mean, there's significant
that's a single
difference.
chiropractor.
That's actually a larger number. If you think about $100,000 versus $1,200, that number's larger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If
a
you think
little
about it,
bit,
I just wanna
just
put
a
that
little
in-
bit.
if you just-
So
Tim,
yeah, now I can pay my bills.
Amen.
So I mean, yeah, we've as far as the number of patients that we've seen and the sustained growth,
Yep.
the numbers that we're tracking. I mean, we've more than doubled the practice from when I took over from the other chiropractor.
now, Tim,
And Brack has been very smart with aggressively
Yep.
saving money. So he's taking his profits and setting that aside. And so as he's expanding, he's not freaked out with what it's requiring of him because he aggressively saved his profits.
Tim,
as he went forward.
you have the floor. I'll let you kind of hit the nail on the head and wrap up the show. You have about 500,000 listeners that listen to this show, and I'm sure a lot of them want to know what's kind of your vision for Redmond Growth. I mean, you've helped so many clients so far. You're continuing to grow. What do you see as the vision for Redmond Growth? I think a lot of our listeners are curious to know. You have grown a company from 2 people to 350 employees in the past. What does the vision look like for Redmond Growth?
We're going to get our business to coaching 300 clients. I call it Gideon's 300.
Yep.
And I won't cover the illustration we use for the 200.
Whoa.
That's just you and me, Clay.
Got it.
And we are going to expand out into buying businesses as well. We're going to be expanding out into setting up a leadership restoration center, which has been a vision of mine since college days. And we're going to do that from a place of strength rather than a place of weakness.
That is
financially.
awesome stuff. That is awesome stuff, Tim. It's been a pleasure serving you these last 8 years, 5 years working together. It's been fun watching you guys grow. It's been an honor coaching your son. I think you entrusted me. You entrusted me with your son. Was
hugely thankful. For
that was probably the scariest thing in my life because it's somebody's son, and I'm like, I'm kind of feel like I'm in many ways kind of like Darth Vader. I'm kind of like Jim Gaffigan and Darth Vader in one person. And so when I'm working with someone, I'm like, do you want me to teach Luke Skywalker the Force? Because he could turn out to be Darth Vader. It could. It's like when you give someone the Force, I feel like you kind of go, uh-oh. I mean, when you give someone that much power and that many tools and those systems that have taken me, 23 years to learn, and you put it into a 6-month course, it's been an honor to serve you guys.
Clay,
Robert is just awesome.
I'm telling you, I watched your character and the consistency of your character, and that's why I wanted my son to sit under your tutelage here. That's the driving force. You work your rear end off. You do a lot of things right, but I see the character and the consistency of your heart, and I go, I want my boy to get that from Clay.
Well, man, I appreciate you and so much, and the folks at Redmond Growth. Dr. Breck, are you chiropractically prepared to bring a boom?
I am, and I just want to say I appreciate both of you guys. I really look at the coaching that you provide to me. I'm so indebted to you, and I kind of liken Tim to my navigator and the Thrive team as the engine in the car.
Yep.
But you've put me in the driver's seat, and I used to not be. So
I appreciate you guys so
thank
much.
you.
Jason, are you ready to bring the boom? Are you metaphysically ready to go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. While Breck's driving the car now, I'm just hanging out in the back. Watching
It's a
view.
party.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Tim, are you prepared to bring the boom?
Let's do it.
Now remember, we got to take one giant step back from the
Oh,
mics
yeah, they're
because
hot.
otherwise the mics are going to be too hot, too hot. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom!
Attend the world's best business workshop led by America's #1 business coach for free by subscribing on iTunes and leaving us an objective review. Claim your tickets by emailing us proof that you did it and your contact information to info@thrivetimeshow.com.